Today was supposed to be a great day. I woke up early in the morning, ready to head into the studio and start sculpting. But first, I needed a drink. You know, an adult drink. Some hot chocolate. Wait, what's this? Where are all the cups? This can't be. Defeated and without my hot chocolate, I started sculpting anyway. But it just didn't feel right. The question, where are all the cups, remained in my head. Wait.
Now go!
Part 1. The armature. With a full body reference, make a simple skeleton using some wire and sticking it all together with some aluminum foil. I personally like using Procreate to make these guidelines. You don't have to, but it makes my life a little easier and I look more professional. Don't you ever think you're too cool to make an armature like I used to think, since it's quite literally what will hold your entire sculpture together. With a very, well, ugly armature that's probably making you question my skills and therefore my teachings, here's where I remind you of the thumbnail of this video. Just know it is not clickbait. And here's also where we move to the next part. Part 2, rough claying time. I know I still need to work on my titles, but oh well. This step is all about covering the entire thing in clay. And that's pretty much it. Once again, you don't need a pasta machine. At the end of the day, I'm somewhat of a professional. Not really. I haven't seen a single dollar for my art. But you can always use something to roll over your clay. Like a spray paint. A closed spray paint. Please. Part 3. The head. Or the cup. Yes, we are going to be making the head this early on, and that's all because Cuphead is like 50% head and 50% body. So making a good Cuphead some... cup? Head is absolutely crucial. Make a huge ball of clay, then give it more of a cup shape. You're welcome. And if you want, make it hollow. Hey, I'm hollow. That's me. No? Alright. And here's where I also bring a huge art hack to you all, and pay attention. From the very beginning, you should always work with a one size reference. And don't change anything about your reference for the entire process. Then make the silhouette of your sculpture the same size. This will allow you to do pretty much what I'm doing here, which is just following alongside my reference, considering both are the same size. Making some very thin lines and setting guidelines in my head, like with a rough sketch. You will spot happy little accidents a lot faster by adding everything to the face first, so don't overthink it at this point. Now is when that kinda in the thumbnail comes in clutch, because I really don't want to clickbait you, and to attach his head to the rest of the body, I decided to make a small hole underneath his head and just use some wire. You don't need to, you can always just stick everything together with more clay or glue. Don't glue it at this point though. But I personally decided to use some wire so I can move his head around. So instead of a cup, he is a flower pot now. And don't you even dare be mad at me for that, because you can just cover that hole and it's going to be a cup. Okay? To make the mouth, I wanted to add some more depth to his head to really take advantage of the medium, which is sculpting, in case you haven't noticed. Will this make the process a lot more complicated? Yes. Yes, it will. Will this look better? I have absolutely no idea. After making the mouth with a loop tool, now is when I noticed how horrifying Cuphead would look if he didn't go to the dentist. Not pretty. At the tongue, at the nose, and now, with everything added to the face, it's time for some more detail and making everything pretty by refining it all. And by refining, I mean add or remove clay. That's all there is to sculpting. Give Cuphead a nice bath in isopropyl alcohol to smooth it all out. I struggled a lot finding a way to keep him in place until I remembered the shape of his head. I am not joking. With a head I am very proud of, it's time to move on to the next part. Part 4. Not so rough claying time. We start by changing the pose. I decided to make him in this very cocky pose because he knows damn well he is him. As with other cartoon characters I've made before, focus a lot on shapes. Make everything very round. Add some humongous and firm shoes to hold the head as heavy as his. And of course, add the shorts. I don't know why, but I like making these little dents a little too much. Like it makes for a way more interesting shape. I also don't know why I decided to record from the right, when I am right-handed, but we move on.
On June 19, 2017, police arrived at a quaint farmhouse property in Idaho.
Time to make the hands, which when considering they are gloves, you should make them kinda big. I'll make one just as a closed fist, because sculpting a closed fist is the easiest way to sculpt hands. And at the other one, which is the star of the show, so I mean I think everyone knows how I was going to sculpt this hand. Going back to the face, time to add the handle. Don't add it too early though, considering how fragile this part is. Also, I don't know why I forgot to mention this, but at this point I had already baked his head, so it would be hard and therefore easier to work with. Okay, there is probably a better way to phrase this, hold on. Now we have to make the straw, which is just an L shape with a little more style to it. Make these worms of clay to indicate that these are indeed gloves. And finally, after some more smoothing and other small adjustments that will make a huge difference, the sculpting process is now done. Time for him to go into the oven at 275 nonsense or 130 Celsius for an hour. And we are on to the next step. Part 5. Color? You would think that the painting process for a character that looks like this was super easy, barely an inconvenience. Right? Here's where the smooth ride we were having goes downhill very, very fast. I started as always by adding primer to the entire thing. And I really mean the entire thing. Proceeded to add some black for the eyes, mouth, and body. And so far so good. Right? I've been making a huge mistake all along. You see, with characters like this that have such a simple design, if your sculpture is not really smooth, it will show. All the dents and holes were so visible, but I completely forgot about sanding this sculpture before painting. And although it was kind of too late for that, I was also too invested on making this project work. And it was never going to work, considering how rough he was looking. Part 5. Sanding. So I got to sand the entire thing, getting rid of all my progress so far. I'm making Cuphead look like an abandoned, old, backrooms version of himself.
Well, Cuphead and his pal Bugman, they like to...
Finally got rid of all the dust so I can start painting once again. Part 6. Colors. Now, really. Now onto the painting process. Painting this character was so simple and straightforward that of course I nailed it first try. And because this character is quite simple to paint, I want to take this moment to talk about something else. While editing this type of videos, I have to make the decision between showing the mistakes I make, like not sanding before painting, or simply editing all of that out, like it never happened. And I want to ask you, what do you prefer? Once everything is covered up like nothing happened, it's time to make the decision of what parts should have an outline to make him look more 2D. Moving on to the straw, we start by painting the hole with black, or otherwise it wouldn't be a straw, and add those red lines with a brush that is not fully clean from the black we used for the hole a second earlier. Wait. What the f? Clean that mess and then make sure you put your finger on the hole you just painted. That's still, of course, completely fresh. That was my last straw. Get it? Because I'm making a straw. We now paint these 3 fabric lines on the gloves, and now time to paint the inside of Cuphead's head. Onto the finish line of this sculpture, let's go back for redemption on the straw. And finally, glue it all together with the world's most powerful glue. That marks the end of one of my favorite sculptures to this day, and I made this sculpture almost 2 years ago. Looking back, I did make a lot of mistakes, but I am beyond happy with the final result and how 2D he actually looks. But wait! That was very dramatic. Before you leave, if you would like me to make a sculpture of your profile picture, all you have to do is subscribe, take a screenshot and send it to me over on Instagram. And come back again next Friday, okay? There's more videos for you to watch right now, so don't wait till next Friday.